What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. Thursday night, which means this is Hollywood Hangout. That means I am Boxman. Hope everybody's doing good. Got a really fun movie tonight to do for you guys. Excuse me. Got a really fun movie to do for you guys tonight. I think it's going to be good. I have a lot to get into. Gonna do it pretty much the way I did the show last week. I'm going to talk about the actors as they come up, except for two. I am going to talk about a couple of actors that I'm not really going to get into as the description goes through the movie, but I'm going to do a quick talk about them because honestly, I have them on a list to do shows on their own about. That's how good most of these guys are. I've got them on a list to do their own shows. So we're going to start with a couple of actors. Before I get into that, I did watch a couple of things this week. I told you guys a couple of weeks ago I was looking forward to the Lord of the Flies Netflix adaptation. Now, I thought it was a movie. I didn't realize it was a four-part series. But I started watching it about 8 o'clock last night. They're about an hour each. And I'll be damned, I could not fucking take my eyes off that show. No spoilers. I will say this. They did an incredible casting job with all of the kids, but two of the kids especially, Jack and Piggy, were fucking perfect. Absolutely perfect. In casting wise, I'll just put that's the only, not even a spoiler, but that's the only thing I really want to say. I recommend that if you liked The Lord of the Flies from the 1990, I think it was, that is definitely the four-part series focuses on the main four characters, Ralph, Piggy, Simon, and Jack. It cycles through, it kind of just takes you into their whole little how they got there, this and that. So it's really cool. It's really a good show to watch. Only 4 episodes, so 4 hours of your day or night, whatever. It's worth it. It is 100% worth the watch, in my opinion. So there you go. Just wanted to give you that. And I watched the Kevin Hart roast. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. Yes, there were some tasteless jokes. That is what a roast is. I thought everybody knew this. A roast is tasteless jokes made towards one person. And yeah, there were a few tasteless jokes, but they were just jokes. They were supposed to be laughed at. They're supposed to be funny. And I'll leave it at that. You guys should check that out on Netflix also. Now, let's go ahead and get into this movie. Like I said, we have a lot to get into. This movie is 1991. Really great fucking movie. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this now. You can stream this on Hulu with a subscription. Peacock, same. Disney, same. The movie's on YouTube right now for free to stream. Zumo, Tubi, Pluto TV, Zumo, Tubo, actually, YouTube, Zumo, Tubi, Pluto, Roku, Flex, all free to watch Point Break right now. Point Break from 1991. Keanu Reeves, Patrick Swayze. We're going to get into both of them as we're going through this. But pretty much you can find this movie right now anywhere to watch. Like I said, Hulu, Peacock, Disney, YouTube. You can go on YouTube right now and watch it for free right now. Now, they did do a remake of this movie, and I believe, I want to say it was 2015 when they did a remake of this movie. I've watched the remake. It's okay. It's standalone. They really could have changed the title and just had it as a standalone film. Some of the stunts, obviously, being 1991 and then all the way up to 2015, the technology was better, the stunt work was better, and The stunts were a little bit more extreme in this movie, but that's what it was. The character wasn't as zen, let's say, as Bodhi, as Patrick Swayze played Bodhi. So let's go ahead and like I said, I'm going to talk about a couple of the characters I'm not really going to talk about as I go through the movie, but that are in this movie. Um, John C. McGinley is in this movie as Keanu's boss. Now, everyone should know who the fuck John C. McGinley is. If you don't, I apologize. I don't know why you don't. You should. I do. Everyone does. This guy has been he was in Scrubs, Dr. Perry in Scrubs, probably his most iconic role, but he was in Office Space, one of the two Bobs. He was Bob Slidell, excuse me. And he was also in Platoon, but this guy goes as far back as Wall Street. He was in The Rock. He was in Seven. He's done voice work. And he's also a major advocate off the screen for Special Olympics and people, not just children, with Down syndrome. So very big into that. So big that he actually serves as a board member and spokesperson for the Global Down Syndrome Foundation. So he obviously cares deeply about that cause. I believe his son, Max, might be Down syndrome. But this guy I have on my list to do a show about when I go back to doing those focus episodes. You guys don't seem to like those. So I'm gonna lay off those and have those as special episodes. I might do them on the weekend or something. But John C. McGinley is a fucking treasure when it comes to TV shows, movies. He shows up. He's always high strung. This movie is no different. Very high strung boss, smart ass, always the douchebag. John C. fucking McGinley. His delivery is high strung. So they let him play high strung whenever he wants, and that's what he is. So really cool though. Now, the other actor I want to talk about is another actor I have on my list to talk about on some other podcast, and that is Lee Turgensen. Now, Lee is right here in the middle, in the leather jacket, the Stone Cold jacket. I'm going to show you a different picture of Lee in just a minute. Lee has been in Oz. He was Tobias Beecher in Oz, if you guys remember that show. That was probably his most famous role. Was in that movie right there. He was in the TV series Weird Science as Chet. No chit. But he was in Wayne's World 1 and 2. We talked about him back then. Monster, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. He was Holden. But this guy, and here's how Oz came about. He was working as a waiter in New York City at a diner. And the director was a regular at the diner and eventually just got him cast in the series. And that defined his career. But let me give you a little more recent picture of Lee Turgensen, and you'll be like, that guy. This guy has been on, there's probably not an HBO show he doesn't pop up on, but he is on so many shows. I've seen him in Law and Order. I've seen him on The Unit, the TV show. I've seen him in CSI. He just shows up. This guy just shows up everywhere. He is an incredible character actor and one that I, again, have on my list to go over as definitely a highlight episode. He deserves it. He has been in hundreds of things. And if you don't recognize him or the name, Go look him up. You will recognize him from something. You will. I guarantee it. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into this movie, folks. So, as I said, we're talking Point Break. Now, for those of you in YouTube, you guys can, what's going on, Dirk? True North. Happy to see you guys. Appreciate y'all stopping in. Let's just start with this, giving you a few facts. This picture that I have up on YouTube is actually, believe it or not, this is the bottom of the movie poster. Now, if you know anything about this movie, you know there's more than 3 in the ex-president gang. That it's 4. But here's the thing. That is not Patrick Swayze under the Reagan mask. That is actually Bo Jesse Christopher, who actually played Gromit in this movie. Swayze never showed up for the photo shoot for the cover. He never fucking showed. So they got Bo Jesse to just go in there and put on the mask. And I guess they had him cover up to not show the body type. But I mean, he wasn't exactly a fucking minute dude. But anyway, that immediately starts off this movie. This is so 90s. But yeah. That was Bo Jesse Christopher, who wore that mask, who actually plays Gromit in this movie. So anyway, I thought I would start off with a fun fact for you. There's the picture. You can actually see that this is the bottom of the movie poster. You see, I believe that's Keanu's chin right there. Might be Swayze's. I forget which one. Anywho, let's get into this movie. As I said, I've got a lot to get into, folks. This is a good, really great movie, and I've probably seen this movie 50, 60 times. Easy. So, movie directed by Catherine Bigelow. Known for, she directed 3 episodes of Homicide: Life on the Street, one of my favorite shows. Directed The Hurt Locker and directed Zero Dark 30. Now, Point Break was her highest grossing film in 1991, all the way until 2012 with Zero Dark 30. So this was a big movie for her, and this was a really big movie. Now, the movie was released on July 12th, 1991. It was released in 1,615 theaters. It grossed $8.5 million in its opening weekend, just behind Terminator 2. Now, here's the catch. If you don't know, Catherine Bigelow happened at the time to be married to another director named James Cameron, who directed Terminator 2: Judgment Day. I would not want to have been around this household in 1991 with these 2 movies going head to head. Second weekend opening was pretty good, though. The reissue, there was the 101 Dalmatians came out again. Boys in the Hood also came out the next week. But the movie had a budget of about $24 million. Film went on to make $43.2 million just in North America and $40.3 worldwide. So total of 83.5. Sorry about the dogs. My wife just came in. So now, speaking of James Cameron and the fact that she was married to him, he actually did some uncredited rewrites on the final script. There was some unresolved arbitration going on with the Writers Guild, and he wasn't able to receive the credit. So there you go. So Catherine Bigelow also had some stuff to do with this, with the script. But let's go ahead and get into this, folks. This film opens. We got Johnny Utah. All right. We have Keanu Reeves as Johnny Utah. I don't think I have done a Keanu Reeves movie. I think this is the first time I get to talk about Keanu Reeves. Now, here he is in the movie right here, Keanu Reeves. Now, obviously, Neo in the Matrix, that's mostly what he's known for. To be honest, he's mostly known as being Hollywood's nicest guy. There are so many videos of him where other actors would probably freak out. Not him. He spends time with people, he talks to people. He seems like a very grateful person for what he has. Now, I'm not going to get into everything he's gone through as far as, his sister and the losses and all that. I'm not going to get into all that. I really don't want to get into all that, and I'm not going to. But, known for Neo, obviously John Wick, Ted in Bill and Ted, and Speed, 1994. Now, this was his first action movie. He was just coming out of some of those dude roles, and they brought him into some action movies. I think they were just trying to test it and see how he worked. Now, again, as I said, one of Hollywood's nice guys, just known for funding children's hospitals, cancer research, not even attaching his name to it, just doing it, big into motorcycles, very big into motorcycles. He has an old classic motorcycle. I forget what it is, but he's done voice work in Shadow, he's Shadow or Shadow the Hedgehog in Sonic. He's Duke Kaboom in Toy Story 4. And he also co-wrote a comic book called, it's a comic book series, actually. It's spelled BRZRKR, Berserker, Berserker, I don't fuck it. But it's actually been expanded into novels. So Keanu's got a lot going on. And again, just being one of the best guys. There's not a lot of guys in Hollywood that no one says a bad word about. Bingo. This guy right here. This guy right here. Now, they kind of establish him as this rookie FBI agent with a chip on his shoulder. He's coming in to get a new assignment. And it kind of frames him as this outsider newbie trying to prove himself, Now, this was not the first person chosen for this film. We'll get into that in just a second. Catherine Bigelow fought to have Keanu Reeves cast as Johnny Utah. She literally said, I will not film this movie. I will not direct this movie without Keanu Reeves. They were looking at higher profile actors, even at this time, like Johnny Depp. This film would not have been good with Johnny Depp. The chemistry that Keanu Reeves and not only Swayze, but him, Swayze, and Gary Busey had in this film, which we'll get to in a little while, was just so dynamic that it really made the movie great. It really did. I'm going to actually take away Keanu here. You get me back. What's up, bitches? So they were looking for Johnny Depp, people like that. Luckily, they never went with it. Wait till you hear who was another person that was up for this role. You'll be fucking shocked. Now, the film's title was not originally Point Break. It was originally Johnny Utah. And then it went to Riders of the Storm. They were going to use that song because it relates to surfing, blah, blah, blah. Now, this film had actually been in production one way or the other since 1986. And Ridley Scott was actually who was the original director. Instead, the film was actually called Johnny Utah at that time. He went on instead to direct Thelma and Louise in 1991 after turning down this film, Point Break. Now, Ridley Scott in 1986 had Willem Dafoe. I love Willem Dafoe. He's a badass actor. but he would not have been. But he was directly attached to Ridley Scott in this project. Um, so, and believe it or not, here's another little fact: because this movie was started in 1986, Brandon Lee was actually in consideration to play either Bodhi or Johnny Utah, one of the two. Just never did. We all know what happened to Brandon Lee and The Crow. Took a real bullet and passed away during the making of the film. Sad. But again, as I said, this was his first action film. His career was mostly teenage movies. As I said, dude, bro, art movies. And some critics were fearful for him. They thought this was going to ruin his career, which obviously it did not. But the moment he got cast and told he had this role, he immediately went to Hawaii to learn to surf. This movie is all about surfing. We know this. So he immediately went off and learned to surf. I don't blame him. If I had the means to go to Hawaii, I would do the same thing. So we also find out during the movie he's this collegiate football player. This is where the whole knee injury comes in. And, you know, we also find out that he tells us about a hockey player. They called him the Wall. And believe it or not, a hockey player, that's real. That's real. Keanu Reeves was a hockey player in Toronto called the Wall, and a knee injury stopped him from going pro. Then he started looking into acting. So he's a former Buckeyes quarterback in this movie. All-American quarterback. They go through all that right there. Not the first movie he has played a quarterback. The Replacements in 2000. He also did play a quarterback. He almost got a fucking football deal out of that goddamn movie. Literally, the Washington Suns tried to recruit him. Seriously. So, you know, it was just the way it was. But Keanu also prepared for this role very well as being an FBI agent, being his first action movie. If you've ever watched some of his preparation for the John Wick movies and even the Matrix movies, he does go through intense training, very intense training for these movies. And for this one, he actually literally studied with the FBI in LA. And for the football material, he practiced with UCLA quarterback coaches. So he really does want to look authentic in these roles. And you got to appreciate that. We'll get into a little more about that. He meets his partner. His partner immediately is this wild man who I don't think Gary Busey plays anything but wild men. But he definitely, he's got a theory, and they move quickly to do this. Let me put up a little picture of Busey here. They move quickly to establish that he has a theory that these guys are surfers. All right. People are making fun of him for it, but this is Gary Busey right here. And Busey is a badass, obviously. Busey has been doing stuff for years. I mean, even back in 1978, when he was doing the Buddy Holly story, he got an Academy Award nomination, received an Oscar nomination for Best Actor, did his own singing in that movie. It was really, really a great movie. Guitar work, singing, all him for the Buddy Holly movie. Lethal Weapon, he was Joshua, scary as fuck. He was Commander Krill in Under Siege with Steven Seagal, another great movie. Hold on here. Yeah, I have a giant beer. My hands didn't shrink. But he was in a lot of 1990s cult classics. Predator 2, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. I loved him in Silver Bullet. But He did a few reality things, later. He did Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. He did Celebrity Apprentice. That was Trump's show. Celebrity Big Brother in the UK in 2014. But, in 1988, this guy did have a near fatal motorcycle accident, kind of where he gets his eccentric persona from. A lot of people said it must mess him up in the head a little bit. If you watch Buddy Holly's story, I don't know how much it really messed him up in the head, but Gary Busey plays Pappas in this. So this is his partner. His partner is Pappas. So there he is right there. And again, they almost immediately established that the evidence is leading him to believe that these guys are surfers. All right. He's like, hey, listen, these guys are leaving at the end of the summer. They're leaving a lot of evidence that that's what it is. Now, we saw the picture of the three presidents. Let's take a picture of what they look like. You got Nixon, you got LBJ, and a couple others I don't recognize. Nixon, LBJ, JFK, and Reagan. Did I get them all out there? Nixon, JFK, LBJ, Reagan. Yeah. Okay. So that's who these guys all portray. Swayze is obviously the big guy in the Reagan mask. And here we go. Let's get this picture out of here. But those are the four presidents. Imagine walking in, you're sitting in a bank trying to take out money, and this crazy fucking group walks in with fucking shotguns and pistols. And yeah, I'd be pretty fucking nervous myself. I would be. So again, Pappas is pushing these theories. He has people making fun of him. They're either half crazy or half genius, however you want to put it in the movie. However you think about it when you're watching the movie. So we get all that. And, this is where he starts to decide that this is where he needs to ingrain himself in the surfer culture. Looks like a surfer, sounds like a surfer. Pappas wants to use this. So Utah starts ingraining himself into the surf world a little bit. Movie shifts from being this procedural cop movie to, okay, now this is where he starts getting, as we said before, immersed into this is undercover, more than what we know. So first person he ends up meeting is Tyler. Tyler in this movie is played by Lori Petty. Lori Petty might be one of the reasons I have a very weird thing with girls with short hair. Wow. Rams fan, what's going on, brother, man? Yeah, I think she might be because she's always had short hair, and I've always thought she was very, very, very cute. Just very pretty. Lori Petty. She played Kit in A League of Their Own, Tank Girl in 1995, Free Willy in 1993. She wrote and directed the 2008 film The Poker House. So she's definitely, done a lot in her career. But yeah, I've always accredited her with my weird thing with girls that can pull off short hair and still be hot. So there we go. Now, she really doesn't care for him in the beginning. Obviously, it's a movie, and but he tells her a story about his family and this and that. It's bullshit, but it's all right. So he's going through that, and this is where he finally convinced her to teach him to surf. Now, we'll get into that in a minute. These two actually did train for 2 months. Actually, not 2, 3. Keanu Reeves, Swayze, and Lori Petty all went to Hawaii and trained in surfing. Former professional surfer Dennis Jarvis actually did all the training for them. And Swayze actually suffered for cracked ribs during the movie. So, man is all Swayze always was a badass, and Swayze went out like a badass. He was in the middle of a show, still recording it when he passed away. I think in 2009. We'll get into Patrick Swayze in just a few minutes here. Um, Not even a few minutes. So this is where again he kind of becomes Tyler kind of becomes um wait a minute. Where am I? Sorry, I got lost there for a second. Tyler kind of becomes his teacher, and surfing's coming along slow, and they're making fun of him. And finally, by the way, Swayze performed most of his own stunts in this movie. Refused to use a double for the surfing scenes, and it made the movie being able to watch him be out there on the surfboard. So it was pretty fucking awesome watching that. Now, let's talk about Bodhi. Let's talk about Patrick fucking Swayze. Let's do this. Believe it or not, this movie's so old I couldn't find a picture of him on his own. Now, he plays Bodhi. There is no last name for Bodhi. So Tyler introduced him to Bodhi. He's the leader of this kind of crew. You got Roach, Gromit, Nathaniel, and Rosie. Don't forget about Rosie. Rosie's played by Lee Turkinson, who we talked about. But he's noticing Bodhi feels very controlled and not a. He's almost his character from Roadhouse, this philosopher. In Roadhouse, he had a philosophy degree. This character's not far off. He's just added surfing. It's like literally almost the characters just decided to become a surfer. So it's funny though, when he meets Johnny, he says, "Hey, your surfboard looks like a 57 Chevy I used to have." Well, that was exactly what he drove in Dirty Dancing. Not sure if that was where it was meant to go, but that's where it went. Hold on, what? No, it's in the truck. Go, please. Aw, mommy will go get it. Okay, sorry. Anyway, now the dogs are going to run in here. So that's Swayze and the character of Bodhi. Bodhi is the name comes from the Buddhist concept of bodhisattva. Exactly, it's a Sanskrit term. Um, Basically means enlightened being who voluntarily postpones final entry into nirvana. So that's why he has this whole philosophical look on everything. So that's really good. Now, this crew is immediately suspicious of Utah. Now, very quickly, they get suspicious of Utah. But Bodhi, now they're in a football game. This is what he trained for with the quarterbacks. They're playing football, and this is where Bodhi realizes who he's playing with. And he's like, dude, do you know who this is? Johnny Utah, Buckeyes fucking quarterback. So this is where they all fucking kind of join and get to know him and kind of like him. Give me a second, folks. I gotta do stuff. Anyway. Oh my God. Anyway, this is horrible. Anyway, y'all need to give me. Sorry about that, folks. I think everything's quiet now. For some reason, the dogs listen when I yell. So I had to yell. Anyway, back to where we were. So Utah starts getting into surfing, really getting into surfing. And he's also sort of getting into Bodhi's whole philosophical look on everything, which is a little weird. But this is where he starts getting, they show you he's getting a little more romantic with Tyler in this. That's what it is they use this to this middle middle of the movie to kind of do that right there. Now, real quick before we pass this, Patrick Swayze, Dirty Dancing, Ghost, Roadhouse. We talked about The Outsiders, 1993 or 83, excuse me. Now, I have talked about Patrick Swayze, which I wasn't really going to get into a lot of it, but you know, trained dancer. His mother was a choreographer, Patsy Swayze, from many movies, Urban Cowboy being one of them. Big into martial arts, wushu, taekwondo, aikido, all helped him in films like Roadhouse. Even this film where he has to fight went way outside of his comfort zone with Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. Where him, John Leguizamo, and Wesley Snipes all went drag. They all went drag. And they got, that film got Golden Globe nominations. Goddamn. But yeah, we did lose him in 2009, unfortunately, at the age of 57. He was doing that TV show called The Beast. I enjoyed it. But Patrick Swayze is pretty fucking awesome. Always. I loved all of his movies. I'll watch any of them. Yes, even Ghost. I don't give a shit. I'll watch that fucking movie. But that's what this movie uses the middle of the movie for, to show you the relationship between Tyler and Johnny Utah. Now, it's and that's actually that's dangerous for him, because now he's not just going with all these, you know, possible criminals, but he's also now has a connection with Tyler that is dangerous for a cop to get into, especially an FBI agent. Now he's emotionally attached. So we get the first raid. He finds some people he thinks did this. There's some guys who kicked his ass on the beach. Now, one of those guys just happens to be Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Now, I will tell you, he was supposed to have a bigger role in this movie, but he wasn't showing up to rehearsals. He wasn't showing up to anything. They were supposed to do fight choreography practicing. They were supposed to do surfing practice. There was a lot more they were supposed to do. He wasn't showing up. So they basically said, okay, now your role is cut. Fucking ended up shooting himself in the goddamn foot in the movie. Kind of, I'd say it might have been a metaphor for what he did. Recast, Rams fan says recast this movie for with Dirk, Packers fan, and him and me. I'd love it. I'd love it. We could still get Anthony. He still doesn't look, I mean, you know, he got that porn mustache now, but yeah, and this is not the first movie he showed up in. He was in The Chase with Martin Sheen, or Charlie Sheen, excuse me. I should know. I reviewed that movie with Anthony. But they go in for a raid, and he slept on the beach with Tyler, so he's almost late for his own fucking raid. All right. So they go in. It goes really bad, this whole raid. Two agents, I'm sorry, one agent dies, two suspects are killed. As I said, Anthony Kiedis shoots himself in the foot. But they meet an uncredited character in this movie, and it is played by none other than another late actor, Tom Sizemore. He's DEA agent Dietz in this movie. Now, he's been undercover for months, and they totally fucked this up. Now, you may be wondering why Tom Sizemore ended up in this movie. Well, the year before, he was in Blue Steel in 1990. So, also directed by Catherine Bigelow. That is probably one of the reasons he was also in this movie. Now, this is the point where the film starts really getting kind of tragic. Utah is embarrassed. He's supposed to be, making a name for himself. And this was a bad, bad bust all the way around, especially fucking up a DEA sting, even worse. And he was right there. He's like, I was supposed to go meet these fucking guys. Great, great scene by an uncredited Tom Sizemore. Really a great scene. I'm a big Tom Sizemore fan. I don't really have much on him, but he's been in some great fucking movies. What did I watch him in last week? Striking Distance on Netflix with Bruce Willis and Jessica Parker. Jessica Parker, I believe her name is. So the more the movie goes on, the more this almost has a Fast and Furious feel to it. It really does. The more, you got Paul Walker trying to go for the crew and he busts the wrong crew. The more he thinks about it, it's got to be this crew, but the guy is too cool. It's not far off of Fast and Furious, the original one. So Utah starts noticing the patterns and realizes it might just be Bodhi's crew. So he just kind of starts realizing what's going on. And it's one thing that also kind of sets them off is they start talking about when they're leaving at the end of summer. That tips them off. But Utah keeps getting closer and closer. I think, Rams fan, I think Fast and Furious definitely borrowed from this movie. It's almost the same premise. If you really go through it, it's not much different. It's really not. They just, instead of president masks, they used cars. I mean, it's not much different. But it's almost like Utah in this movie doesn't want it to be Bodhi, but we know it is. So this is the fun part of the movie. Utah and Pappas stake out a bank. The ex-presidents do show up. They do rob it. Now, Pappas says he is so hungry, he could eat the ass end out of a dead rhinoceros. Believe it or not, Bill Paxton used this exact same line in 1995 in the movie Apollo 13. Excellent movie. Now, there was another great line in this movie that turns out it was actually improv'd by Gary Busey, where he told him that there were unbelievable meatball sandwiches at this place right down the road, right down the block. And Utah, get me two. Get me two. He does, and he gets a couple bites down before the shit fucking hits the fan. But this was a completely ad-libbed line of Utah. He told him, get me two, sticks his head out. Utah, get me two. Give me two. Just in Gary Busey fashion, obviously. This is where we get to a foot chase. You got Bodhi on foot, and not only that, Utah just blew his whole fucking cover. He just blew his cover. He has no cover anymore. They've all seen him, which makes the movie even more intense as we go through it. We don't have that much left, believe it or not. So Bodhi is chasing, or Utah is chasing Bodhi all over the fucking place. Um, again, they had to use something different here because through this chase, all the scenes in the mask are in the mask for a reason. It's not him. It's Scott Wilder, who is a stuntman in movies like Lethal Weapon 2 with Gary Busey, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I think we know who's in that. From Dusk Till Dawn and over 150 more movies. But he's a stuntman, and he is the one running in the foot chase. Now, Swayze didn't just not show up for this. He actually had to travel to Europe and do an international press tour for Ghost that had come out in 1990. So that was cool. But this is where we see Utah's knee because he's running, he's chasing Bodhi, and he jumps down this embankment. And by the way, if you play GTA 5, you know where they're at. You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I know where you guys are. They're right down in that spillway there. So there's that right there. Now, again, he actually ends up letting Bodhi escape. They give each other a little look, and he fires the gun in the air. Now, this was a moral choice, I believe, the film made. You still got him as an agent, but he now knows he's got no cover. And not even fucking Tyler knows he's a cop yet. Okay. So they go, there's a campfire. This confirms what we all knew, that Bodhi's crew is doing this. And now Utah is way inside this circle. Tyler does find his badge, kind of ends their relationship. She thinks she's been betrayed. Now, I believe this is where the movie was like, see the cost of undercover work? He lost his girl. Did he, though? Not really. You know, just whatever. But anyway, suddenly there's a knock at the door because they still were sleeping. They still ended up in the same bed. So did he really lose his girl? No. Bodhi shows up and they want to go skydiving. Okay. Now, got a few things in here. Let me get to the movie and then I'm going to give you a few more little facts. So Bodhi kind of talks Utah into going skydiving. Becomes one of the film's most great scenes. The jump is not just a jump, it's also like a ritual between these two guys. It almost becomes fucking like religious, this jump. It shows that Johnny Utah's got balls, number one, but he also is willing to go way outside laws in order to do what he's doing here. So after the jump, this is where Utah definitely, Swayze knows Bodhi knows he's an agent. And this is where he finds out Tyler has been held hostage by Rosie. This is a good moment in the movie right here because this is where this flips. This again goes away from procedural. We were already away from a procedural cop movie. This goes even deeper and becomes personal at this point now because now he's got to get his girl back. But great skydiving scene. Matter of fact, here it is right here. Little picture of these two guys. This is what I mean when it became like almost a religion. Now, the reason I put this picture up here is because Swayze really was a fucking madman in real life, folks. He was already had been doing skydiving when he had made 55 jumps before the film. So the aerial sequences have kind of an extra oomph in them because it's them. So Swayze, when they hired him for the film, they asked him stop doing skydiving. You know, insurance reasons. They don't want him to do it. They don't want him to fuck himself up. So producers let him do a few on-screen dives, and apparently he kept going to other places and doing dives. According to Gary Busey, he's come out in an interview and said Swayze was so into the skydiving that he badgered him into finally going. And after finishing the film, Gary Busey went skydiving with Patrick Swayze. I cannot see these two going skydiving. I just can't see it. But I guess they did. So anyway, Swayze was huge into skydiving, obviously, though. I didn't know that. I really never even knew that, but he loved it. He loved everything about it. So after they tell him that, they start heading to their last bank. Okay. They don't tell Utah where they're going until the last minute, and they don't have a mask. So he's going in there completely uncovered with basically nothing and an empty shotgun. So this is the group. I know the dogs again. I'm sorry, guys. So this is where the group's behavior becomes even more. It's escalating, it's becoming more reckless, it's becoming more extreme. And this is where the movie kind of takes a shift from, okay, these guys were in control, to this movie's taking a fucking shot off the rails. These guys are out of fucking control. So they do this robbery in the bank. The crew decides to take the vault, which they never do. And it was a dangerous move because they know they're going to be in there longer. Well, an off-duty officer decides to take a shot, ends up killing Gromit, or Bo Jesse Christopher, as we know him as, who was the original, who was in the mask in the Point Break poster. And he gets shot and killed in the bank. Now, just so you guys don't think that I'm fucking slipping, the off-duty cop in the bank actually has an ongoing character as Ed Laughlin in a little show called NYPD Blue. He's in like 6 seasons of it. Y'all didn't think I was fucking slipping, did you? No. So chaos breaks out. They knock out Utah. They leave him holding the bag, and they even arrest him in this part. John C. McGinley's character humiliates him. Pappas ultimately hits John C. McGinley in this movie, in this scene. It was pretty great. Yeah, True North, you're probably right. They probably, snorted a line of cocaine and then went jumping Busey and Swayze. Probably. But this movie definitely takes another turn right there, because you see Pappas is not only clicking with Utah, but would put his fucking job on the line for him. So you see there's another little, I guess you could say, another emotional attachment being formed right there with these two. You knew they were getting along before, but they're getting along even better now. They're on the same page. They're definitely on the same page. So there you go. Pappas gets him out of there, and they know where they're going because they told them they were going to an airport. So they race to the airport, and Bodhi, Roach, and Nathaniel, all of them are preparing to flee. They're ready to leave. And it becomes this crazy scene where there's gunfire and shit going on everywhere. And unfortunately, Pappas and Nathaniel are both killed, and Roach is also shot, which is Bodhi's brother, and wounded. So they all end up on the plane. Bodhi forces Utah on the plane at gunpoint. This is setting up for the final scene. So they're airborne, and this is where we get the final jump. Believe it or not, I'm almost done, folks. I got through this a lot faster than I thought. It's because you guys are fucking awesome. That's why. Mm-hmm. That's why. So they're airborne. Bodhi jumps from the plane. Actually, doesn't jump. He just says "adios, amigo" and kind of back falls out of the plane. Badass. Leaves Utah with no parachute. All right. And he's worried about, just tell him to let Rosie or tell Rosie to let Tyler go. Well, they won't do it. And this was an actual jump this was Swayze jumping. So at one point, fucking Utah just goes, fuck it, and jumps out of the plane. No parachute. Jumps right at Bodhi. I think Bodhi's line was, "You are one rad dude," or "one rad motherfucker," or something like that. One radical guy. I forget what he says, but it's really a good part of the film. But that's why the film seems so authentic, because it was a jump. Really, that was Swayze jumping out of a plane. But he goes through. He catches. He ends up catching Bodhi. He catches up to him. They do an incredibly low pull of the parachute. Now, 2,000 feet for a skydive is a low parachute pull. 800 feet, you are risking your life and you might not survive. If you watch this movie, it kind of shows that they were way lower than 800 feet when they pulled the chute. They barely make it down there. You see, Bodhi does let Tyler free. Him and Rosie take off. And you think the movie's over. You see you see Tyler and Utah hug. But it ain't over yet. Utah catches up to Bodhi. You see he's looking for him. He's trying to find him. He finally catches up to him at the 50-year storm in Australia. They have an incredible fight scene in this movie where in the scuffle, Utah actually ends up putting the cuffs on Bodhi. Here's the little part from that scene there. They were all in the ocean fighting. Now, this is the 50-year storm. These waves are fucking huge. Fucking gigantic. No one would survive going out in this weather. And that's what everyone's saying. No one's going out. You won't make it back. No one will make it back. Well, when Bodhi realizes he's cuffed, he goes, "Look, man, I can't go to jail. I'm not built for that. Just let me out there. Let me go." And he does. He does. And Keanu unhooks the cuffs as Australian police are moving in. He goes out there and he just goes, "Via con Dios." If you don't know what that means, it means go with God. Go with God. So Bodhi goes out. Everyone knows he's not coming back. And he goes out, and that's it. That's the film. Bodhi goes out on his own terms, in the water, doing what he absolutely loves to do. And earlier in the film, they were talking about that's how they would want to go. Just catch a fucking, a wave and hit the set and be gone with it. But it's not really, we can't prove he died. He could have lived. I guess it gives you a little bit of one of those things where you can make your own ending if you want, but I believe he didn't come back. But this film is good, man. You've got a police thriller. You kind of got a bromance comedy out of it with Utah and Utah and Bodhi, a surf movie. You know, you got a little bit of everything in this movie. Now, here's some fun stuff for you. Believe it or not, 20th Century Fox had made plans. Let me pull this down real quick. 20th Century Fox had made plans for a sequel to this film to be released in 1993, in the summer of 93. The script was written, it was in pre production. Despite the fact this film made tons of money, they decided to scrap the project. No reason behind it. But what this film did spur is a stage play called Point Break Live, premiered in 2003. For the role of Johnny Utah, every performance they select an audience member, and he reads all the dialogue from handheld cue cards, just how Keanu does it. And that's what they do. I don't know if this is still going or not. I would love to actually see this if it was. Gary Busey stopped by one of them in 2013. He joined the cast and played his character, I believe. Lori Petty appeared at a live performance and also participated in it. So, believe it or not, Point Break Live was a thing. I couldn't believe it when I saw it either. But believe it or not, folks, I'm actually done. I really didn't think I was going to get done that quick. I thought I had a lot more to talk about. A lot more to talk about. But it turns out I didn't. I didn't. But this is really one of those movies that goes very quick while you're watching it. Goes very fast. It moves through the action scenes. The action scenes kind of move you through the movie, which makes it a better movie to go through, because it's just like action, 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 action. Before you know it, you're at the end and they're fucking, they're skydiving. So, but I've always loved this movie. I realized I had never done a Keanu Reeves movie, and I've always wanted to talk about Keanu Reeves. He is just an incredible, incredible person. Again, Hollywood has never, when Hollywood can't think of something bad to say about you, I think that says something very good about your personality, because I believe Hollywood would find anything they could to say something bad. Thank you, Rams fan. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So I will admit this one was maybe a little more of a info show, a little more of did you knows, but we definitely got through the movie, the meat of it. And like I said, I think that you've never seen any of the John Wicks. Rams fan, what are you doing with your life? I'll be honest, they didn't need to make that fourth one. But I just like that we had him and Lawrence Fishburne get back together. I really thought that was an awesome little thing they did in John Wick. But the John Wick movies are great. I'm still wanting to see Ballerina, the other one in the John Wick series, and I haven't seen it yet. I've got it. I just have not watched it. But I think the chemistry between Swayze and Reeves worked incredible. And Keanu also worked great with Gary Busey. They really didn't have scenes together, any of them, but Keanu Reeves just has a way to have chemistry with everyone he works with, probably because he's just a down-to-earth dude. And people can just relate to him. As I said, there's so many videos of him just spending time with his fans, out riding his motorcycle, giving up his seats on the subway when he doesn't have to. He's like the anti-celebrity almost. He is like the complete opposite of what you would expect a celebrity to be. Now, again, I didn't mention all the stuff that he had gotten into as a younger person, his sister and all the stuff. And I didn't get into all that, but that probably shaped a lot of the way he looks at life. And he just, as I said before, he seems like he is grateful for anything and everything, and even for the fans. I think he's one of those guys that knows without fans, he'd be nowhere in life, you know? So, you hear it about him. It's the same thing you hear about Brendan Fraser, another great guy in Hollywood who you really don't hear bad things about. So, always wanted to talk a movie with him. I don't think I've talked to Gary Busey movies, so I wanted to do that too. But this was a movie I wanted to get out of the way. Great action movie. I recommend it. If you, for some reason, have not watched this movie yet, I told you guys where you could stream it. I'll do it one more time for you, though. Pretty much everywhere this movie is being streamed right now. If you have a Hulu, Peacock, or Disney subscription, Point Break is on there. For free, you can watch it on YouTube, Zumo, Tubi, Pluto, Roku, and Plex. If you have a subscription to Fubo, Sling, Prime, YouTube TV, you can watch it all with a subscription. And for $2.99 at Fandango, Google Play $3.99, Apple TV $4.99. Why do that? Go to YouTube. If you have Hulu, go to Tubi. Watch a couple commercials. Fuck it. You're going to get a couple on YouTube too, I bet. So there you go, if you want to do that. Anyway, folks, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm hungry. I am. I'm kind of hungry. I might go watch a movie, chill out, get some food. But I see you. I see you, Rams fan. I just didn't want to blurt out your name. I didn't want to blurt out your name, brother. So, but I did see your little post. I didn't want to post that either. So, all right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Chat room, as usual. Thank you guys for coming in here every Thursday. You guys are fucking awesome. I love you guys. Anyone who's downloading the shows, I appreciate it. If you're listening on YouTube, I really appreciate it. Subscriptions are going up every week. It seems like views seem to be going up every week, and that I am grateful for, folks. I am grateful for anyone that will take the time to come out and check out what I do. I know I'm not great at it, but I love talking movies with you guys. Rams fan, I know you got nothing to hide, but I'm not gonna I don't know. I've only heard your name as Rams fan. So y'all take it easy out there. Real quick before the night's over. Today was my mom's birthday. Happy birthday. Box Mama. Happy birthday to you. Only downfall to that is 1 year ago tomorrow is the day I had to put my my scooter down, my dog. So bittersweet. But anyway, I didn't mean to end on that note. We will end with happy birthday, Box Mama, and we'll leave it at that. All right, guys. Y'all take it easy. I'll be back here next Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'll figure something out. In the meantime, y'all have a great weekend coming up. Enjoy your Friday, and I will see you guys next week. See ya.